Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into one of the most powerful tools available to WordPress developers, that is the WordPress REST API. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of what the REST API is and how it works, and how you can start using it to build awesome application. Whether you are building a desktop application or your mobile application, you'll need to connect with your WordPress CMS, right? So that is one of the use case that you can have with the REST API. First of all, what is REST API? From your desktop software or mobile application, you will need to interact with your WordPress ecosystem, whether you want to get some data or put some data into your WordPress. So in between there will be a REST API interface that will help you performing these actions, right? REST API, what REST API stands for, so this is the state transfer application programming interface, which is used by mostly a modern web platforms. So you will have the ease of JSON data with this, so that you can parse and use to any software. Here you will request from your external software to WordPress system with your data, and the WordPress CMS will take and process the result with database or anything like that. Once the data is been prepared to send back, it will send the JSON data back to your software so that you can perform any action on your end. WordPress has its own ecosystem of REST API. So to explore, let's move back to WordPress admin. Here in your WordPress, you will have the posts and number of posts, your medias, your pages, and everything. The data has been stored in database, and this is the GUI for that. But if you want to get them all using your programming interface, you will need the REST API to communicate, right? So now we'll see what endpoints WordPress provides by default. So to do that, what you can do is, in your URL you can type your domain name, and then there is a endpoint or route you can set in WP-JSON. You can see that there is a lot of JSON data over here. So I prefer, if you are dealing with this kind of data, the JSON data in your browser, you should choose Firefox over the Chrome. So let's just copy this and paste this URL in your Firefox. So you will see how Firefox manages all the JSON data. In Chrome, you can see this is the plain JSON data. Even if we pretty print it, this is not so user friendly, or we can say developer friendly. So here in Firefox, you will see everything in well designed manner. So in routes, you can see there are lots of endpoints has been provided by WordPress itself. So if we are browsing it through, let's say, WP-V2 posts, so this is the one endpoint that will be helpful to have the post, all the posts that our WordPress website has. Now if we want to get our post and everything, we can do that directly into our browser. Let's say after WP-JSON you have to pass this route, so WP-V2 and posts, so there will be WP versioning. So this is, WP is the main namespace of the REST API, then this is the versioning, what version of namespace we are using, and then our endpoint, that is posts. Once we hit enter, you can see we have a published post called hello world. Let's go to WordPress posts, and here you can see that we have hello world, and if we are viewing this post, you have this data. So in browser, if you'll check, there is a content, and in rendered you are having welcome to WordPress, this is your first post, right? And that is the same thing that we are having over here. So this is the browser way to check, but if we want to post or anything, we cannot use browser, right? So for that we are going to use a fantastic tool called Postman. If you don't have Postman, you can download it any environment, your Windows, Mac or Linux, and install it to use. This is the fresh Postman software that we are using. Let's create our first collection in the Postman called WordPress. Now this is the collection that we are going to use for demonstrating the REST APIs. So let's add a request in this and call it a get WordPress posts. In the URL, the same URL will go into the request URL. So the HTTPS our domain, our WP-JSON, WP-v2 post will go in the URL. When we send the request, we need to click on send, and you'll see here, you can see the HTTP request status 200 is okay, the time that it took for fetching the data, the size of the payload or the response we have got. Okay, another thing that we can use in Postman, let me show you. So this is the path that you are always going to work with the REST APIs, right? So you should not enter it in all the requests, instead of just select it and set it as a variable. So whenever you are putting that variable, it will automatically replace with the URL. The variable, set a new variable and let's call it a base URL and set it as a global. Set variable and you will see that your base URL WP-v2 post is set. Now in every URL you'll see, if you are going to have the base URL, it has the value of your WP-JSON. So you don't have to write it all the way. You can just use base URL and then you can mention your namespace version and the endpoint to work with. We have seen that the post endpoint fetches all the WordPress posts. So what if we want a post by its ID? So what we have to do is, we can just hit this slash and pass the ID of that post. We are indicating that we want to fetch the post with ID 1. Let's just send it. If you have noticed, if we don't put a ID, it will have the multiple JSON object in an array. If we are putting it the ID and send the request, it will have just a one JSON object. Likewise, you can explore other endpoints as well. So you will get the WordPress pages, WordPress media, menu items, WordPress blocks, templates, and for each and everything there is an endpoint available in the WordPress. You just need to explore how you can use it. So to create a WordPress post with REST API, let's just go to our WordPress dashboard, and in users you can jump back to your profile, and what you need to do is, you have to create your application password, and it will be helpful to use it while authenticating the REST API. So let's just name it as test, as we are having it for test, and add new application password. You need to copy this at a safe place, and you are going to use this for any WordPress REST API authentication. Go back to your Postman and you can see that there is environments over here. Click on that and you will see globals. So the base URL we have already defined for the WP-JSON URL. Now what you can use is your username that we have set, our WordPress username, that is admin, and password that we have just copied. So let's see, paste it over here and paste here as well. Once you have kept it in your global environment, just save it, and in the collection let's add a new request. Add a request called create WordPress post. Now in this request, what you need to send is, first is URL. So you can see that with the base URL you are having the optimtechstudio.com, your domain, WP-JSON, and your namespace, version, and posts. What we want to do is we want to create the post. So in the method you will select post, so that will be posting to our WordPress website. Now in the authorization you have to choose the basic auth, and you have to pass the username and password so that your WordPress instance can know who is putting the data into the system. So here you can type the double curly braces and pass the username, same that you have saved the password as well. So you can set the password. Now comes the question that how we can send the data, such as post title, post content, what will be the post status. That all we can pass to the body. In the body you can choose raw or anything you like, but this endpoint particularly supports the raw data, raw JSON data. So what we can do is open and close the curly braces for JSON. For the title you can pass title colon and my rest post, comma, the status you can mention is status, can be draft, published, or anything. Let's give it a publish and send this. You'll see your post has been created, that has ID 13. This is the timestamp, GUID, and everything. The slug is also mentioned over here. The status is publish and type is post, right? Here in the WordPress admin, let's go to post and check if our post is created. Yes, here it is. You can edit it and do anything. What if you want to add the content within the REST APIs? So let's go back to the Postman and add the content as well. So in this you will pass the content and colon. Oh, here is the missing comma. Okay, in content you will see that you can pass the HTML. This is the post I am creating with REST API. My second REST post, and send this. you'll see there is a new post for 14. The content has been added. The raw one is, this is the post I'm creating with REST API. Let's go to our WordPress front end and check with the post list. You'll see my second REST post that we have created with Postman. Here is the data that we have passed. Okay, now let's update this post using the Postman. So if you are having the post ID, then you can directly update it. So what you are going to do is go to Postman, and I'm going to save this first in our environment, and I'm going to add the request, or let's say let's copy and duplicate this request instead of creating a new. So we'll have everything over here. In the post we are going to put means we are going to update the data. So in the post we know that our post ID is 14, and in the body what we'll do is we'll update the content, and here you can see I am updating the title as well. Just update it and send it to WordPress, and you'll see that your ID 14. Slug is the same. Slug is, once the slug is created, it's not going to change in update as well. So here is the updated content as well. The h1 has been created and the title has been updated as well. Let's go to front end and check, refresh the page, and you can see my second post dash ots, and this is the h1 as well. The same thing with delete we can do. Let's rename this first, update wp post, and you can duplicate this request as well. First let's save this as well so that we'll be needing this in future. I'm going to name this as delete wp post. So instead of post I'm going to use the delete version. We just have to give the authorization in body. We don't need anything. If we are passing, it will not consider as well. So let's just clear that. We are going to delete the post number 14, add the post ID over here and send it to the WordPress. You'll see that this post has been deleted. Let's go to the front end and refresh. You'll see that your post or page is not found. Let's go to your all post, and you'll see that your post has been deleted. Save this request as well in Postman, and you'll be seeing that we have created the environment in Postman that will be helpful to check the demonstration of REST API. We have get the WordPress post, then created a WordPress post, then updating the same post and deleted the same. So there you have it, a quick introduction to the WordPress REST API. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more WordPress tips and tutorials. If you have any questions or topic you would like me to cover in the future videos, drop them in the comment box. Thank you for watching and happy coding.